give you a sort of information about the male and female reproductive system and also the urinary system. Hello. Here are the functions of urinary system. First is to remove metabolic waste or the waste product coming out from the glomerular filtration or the secretions. So second is the regulates blood volume and blood pressure. Third is regulate plasma concentrations of sodium, potassium, chloride, and etc. The fourth is helps to stabilize blood pH or the and conserve valuable nutrients that needed for our body, especially in delivering the nutrients in and out of the blood. So here are the organs of the urinary system or the main organs of urinary system. This is the kidneys, the ureter, the urinary bladder, and the urethra. So urine formation. So the three main steps in urine formation is the glomerular filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. Blood flows to glomerular. The blood pressure pushes water and solute from the capillaries into the capsule through filtration membrane. The first step. This begins the filtration of urine formation. So, how many? The second step is the tubular reabsorption, wherein the water or the glucose from here, the amino acid and needed ions are transported out of the filter into the tubule cells and then enter the capillary blood. So, amo na ini nga di na enter hiya. Sige. So, the tubular secretion liwat in mga needed na proteins na kailangan han blood. So, gibabalik liwat hiya. Transported. So, ang mga needed na nutrients han blood, gibabalik nga di through peritubular capillaries and secreted by the tubule cells into the filtrate. So, ang mga waste na diri na kailangan not body or not blood. So, na-release siya through urine. The curses of the urinary system are kidneys. It is twin, bean-shaped, that clear harmful substances in our body by filtered blood, like water purification to clear water from acidity. It regulates blood pH, volume, pressure, and osmolality. It also produced hormones. Kidney is located between T12 and L3 vertebrae, partially protected by the 11 and 12 or the floating rib. The kidney is roughly designed as fist in our retroperitoneal behind the peritoneal membrane, along the vertebral column. The right kidney is pushed down by the liver. It's slightly lower than the left kidney. In the middle of the kidney, there is an indentation, which forms the renal hilum. It is the entry and exit for ureter, renal arteries, renal veins, lymphatics, and nerves into and out of the kidney. The kidney is surrounded by 3 layers of tissue. In the outside, we have a renal fascia, which is a thin layer of dense tissue that anchors the kidney from its surrounding. The middle layer or the adipose capsule is fatty layer that protects the kidney from trauma. The deepest layer is renal capsule, which is smooth, transparent sheet of dense connective tissue that gives its distinctive shapes. So if you take crust of the kidney, there are 2 parts. The inner portion is the renal medulla and the outer portion is the renal cortex. The medulla is made of 10 to 18 renal pyramids, with the base of pyramids facing a renal cortex, and on the tip of the pyramid called renal papillae or nipples, the center of the kidney. The renal papillae project in the minor calyces, which is joint major, to produce major calyces and interrenal pelvis. The urine collects in renal pelvis into out of the kidney's head to ureter. The renal cortex can be divided into outer cortical zone and inner juxtamedullary zone. There are also sections of renal columns that separate renal pyramids from each other. So each pyramid and renal cortex has renal lobe. So in the adult kidneys, there are 150 letters per day. So let's assume that it's 5 letters in body. That means entire volume of blood is filtered 30 times a day. If we get 1/4 cardiac output, which blood getting out of left ventricle to reach the kidney, blood flows into aorta, into the right renal and left arteries. The renal artery enter to the kidney, then divide into a segmental artery, into interlobar artery which pass through the renal columns. Then the arcuate artery that goes over the bases of the renal pyramids, then enter the cortical radiate artery which supply the cortex. So the cortical radiate arteries continue to divide, then eventually forming an efferent arteriole that splits into a tiny bundles of capillaries called the glomerulus. In the glomerulus, it is the site where blood filtration starts or begins. Interestingly, once the blood reaches to the glomeruli, it doesn't enter the venules. Instead, the glomerulus funnel of blood into efferent arterioles, which divide the capillary in the second time. In its peritubular capillaries reunites to become a cortical radiate vein. Then, the arcuate vein, then into interlobar veins, finally into the right and left renal vein, which connect into the interior vena cava. As blood flows into the glomerulus, water and some solute in the blood, like sodium, is able to pass to the endothelium lining of the capillary, that then move across to the basement membrane through epithelium, and finally into the Bowman space of the nephrons itself, which the point is called filtrate. The epithelium of nephrons made of specialized cells called the podocytes, which is wrapped around the basement tentacles of an octopus between its tentacles like projection and the tiny gaps called filtration slits. It is allowing passage of water, glucose, and ionic salt, and blocking the large proteins and the red blood cells. So, as the blood filtrate and live in the Bowman capsule, it flows in the renal tubules which is surrounded by the peritubular capsule. In conclusion, the urinary system is very essential to our body, especially in the urine formation. And the fact is that it removes metabolic waste and regulates blood volume and our blood pressure. The urethra gender difference between males and females in function, length, and location. In function, female's urethra only carries urine, where female urethra carries urine and serves as a passageway for sperm cells, while in length, female urethra 3 to 5 cm or 1 inch, while in male urethra it is 20 centimeters or 8 inches. So in location, female urethra is along the wall of the vagina, while the female urethra it is through the prostate gland. So it is the difference between the male and female urethra. So here is the blood flow in our kidney. So first, the blood enters to the aorta, to renal artery, to segmental artery, to lobar artery, to interlobar artery, to arcuate artery, to interlobar artery, down to afferent arterioles, to glomerulus, to efferent arterioles, to vertebula capillaris and vas recta, to interlobar vein, down to arcuate vein, to interlobar vein, to renal vein, to inferior vena cava. So that's how our blood flow in our kidney. The three most common disorder or disease in our urinary system is the urinary tract infection, the kidney stone, and the glomerulonephritis. So first is the UTI. So it is an infection in any part of your urinary system, in your kidneys, ureters, bladder, and the urethra. So most common infection involve the lower urinary tract, which is the bladder and the urethra. So women are the greater risk of developing a UTI compared to male due to the different size of the urethra of both sexes. So while kidney stone tract is a hard crystalline mineral materials formed within the kidney or in the urinary. So the medical term for kidney stone is a nephrolithiasis. So it is formed when there is a decrease in urine volume or an excess of stone that forming substances in the urine. So dehydration is the major risk factor for the kidney stone formation. So there are symptoms in kidney stone such as plank pain, the hematuria, so people with a certain medical condition such as gout, and those who take a certain medication or supplement are at risk for kidney stone. So it's either diet or hereditary factors are also related to stone formation. So moreover, the condition of having a kidney stone in term nephrolithiasis, having stone at any location in the urinary tract, is referred to as the urolithiasis, and the term urolithiasis is used to refer to stone that located in the ureter. So there are some treatment for the kidney stone, such as the pain control medication, and in some cases, medication to facilitate the passage of urine if it is needed. Third is the glomerulonephritis. So, it is an inflammation of the tiny filters in your kidneys or the glomeruli. So glomeruli remove excess fluid, electrolytes, and waste from your bloodstream and pass them into your urine. Glomerulonephritis can come on suddenly acute or gradually chronic. So it occurs on its own or as a part of another disease such as lupus or diabetes. So the severe or prolonged inflammation associated with the glomerulonephritis can damage your kidney. The causes of glomerulonephritis. Sometimes that disease runs in families, and sometimes that causes is an unknown condition that can lead to inflammations of the kidney. Glomeruli is included. So, the treatment of the glomerulonephritis, It is depend on what type glomerulonephritis you have. Let's move on to the reproductive system. So let me give you the insight about the reproductive process. So the human reproduction takes place as an internal fertilization by sexual intercourse. During this process, the erect penis of the male is inserted into the female vagina until the male ejaculates semen, which contains sperm, into the vagina. The sperm travels through the vagina and cervix into the uterus for potential fertilization of an ovum. Upon successful fertilization and implantation, gestations of the fetus occurs within the female uterus for approximately 9 months. Pregnancy. Gestation ends with labor resulting in birth. In labor, the uterine muscles contract, the cervix dilates, and the baby passes out through the vagina. These are the male reproductive system parts. So this is the ejaculatory duct, the urethra here, and the urinary bladder, then the pubis, ductus deferens, then the erectile tissue of penis, shaft of penis, then spongy, or the penile urethra. So the seminal vesicles, the prostate gland, the urethra, the bulbourethral gland, the rectum, and the scrotal sac, the testes, and the epididymis. Male reproductive system. The human male reproductive system is a series of organs located outside of the body and around the pelvic region. The primary direct function of the male reproductive system is to provide the male gamete or the spermatozoa for the fertilization of the ovum. The major reproductive organs of the female can be grouped into three categories. The first category is the sperm production here, and storage. Production taking place in the testes, housing the temperature regulating scrotum. Immature sperm then travel to the epididymis for the development and storage. The second category, the ejaculatory fluid here. Producing glands include the seminal vesicles, the prostate, and the vas deferens. The final category is used for copulation and deposition of the spermatozoa. Sperm within the female includes the penis, urethra, vas deferens. The female reproductive system consists of external organ. The testes in the scrotum produce the male gamete, sperm, which is ejaculated in seminal fluid by the penis. The female reproductive system primarily consists of internal organs. Unlike the female reproductive system, it consists the external organs. So the female reproductive system primarily consists of external organs. Reproductive systems, the main function is to produce the offspring. Human reproduction involving two distinct sexes between males and female is a characteristic feature of all forms of life and play a prominent role in the origin of species and diversity of life by bringing together many characteristics, giving rise to the entire new organism. So the first functions of human production is that it contributes gametes, and the primary sex characters are the gonads, testes in male, and ovaries in female. The female reproductive system is more complex due it structurally and functionally rather. It consists a part of ovaries that attach with the ligaments to the uterus. So, the ovary produced female gametes or ova in a close relation to the ovary. So, the oviduct is present. So, it is a funnel shaped structure, usually it fabricated margin. So, the end serves to pick up the ova or eggs that liberated from the ovary, while the proximal ends of the oviduct enters into the uterus or what's so called the bahay bata. The information of everyone. Uterus is a muscular and stretchable bag. The wall of the uterus has 3 layers of tissue. Includes the perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. So the external thin membranous is perimetrium, while the middle thick layer of the smooth muscles is myometrium, and in the inner glandular layer called endometrium. It is aligned to the uterine cavity. Endometrium undergoes cycle changes during menstrual cycle, while myometrium exhibit a strong contractions during the delivery of the baby in the vagina. So, under the proper hormonal stimulations, uterine endometrial wall gets modified for the implantation of the fertilized ovum and also forms placenta and fetal membrane during the intrauterine development of an embryo. It is the start that uterus opens into a long tube, the vagina and the opening being guarded by the cervix of the uterus, a sphincter that prevents the entry of the harmful bacteria and the other substances inside it. So, the vagina serves to receive sperms after copulation. So, the accessory of the female reproductive system is associated or includes mammary glands, their function being the nourishment of the young ones during prenatal rather. So, the mammary glands serve as the nourishing the baby in the womb. It is paired structures or what's so called our breast that contains glandular tissues. Our glandular tissues of each is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing cluster of cell called alveoli. So, alveoli is open into mammary tubules. The tubules of each lobe join to form a mammary duct. So the duct join to form a wider mammary ampulla, which connected to lactiferous duct, through which milk is sucked out by the baby for its nourishment. I know some of us may ask, what is an ovulation? So, at this point, I'm here to discuss about ovulations and 8 things to know about our menstrual cycle. For the information of everyone, ovulation is a part of our menstrual cycle. It occurs when an egg is released from our ovary. So when the egg is released, it may or may not be fertilized by sperm. If fertilized, the egg may travel to the uterus and implant to develop into pregnancy. But if the egg is unfertilized, it disintegrates and the uterine lining is shed during our period or what's so called menstrual period. So understanding and knowing about how ovulation happens and when it takes place, it can help us to achieve or prevent pregnancy. So second, when does an ovulation happen? So, typically, ovulation happens around the day of 14 of a 28-day menstrual cycle. So, since not everyone has a textbook of 28-day cycle, so the exact timing can vary. So in general, ovulation occurs in the 4 days before or 4 days after our cycle's midpoint. So third, how long does an ovulation last? So, the process of ovulation begins with if your body releases a follicle that's stimulating hormones typically between days 6 and 14 of our menstrual cycle. So these hormones helps the egg inside our ovary to mature and prepare to release the egg later. So once the egg is mature, our body releases a surge of luteinizing hormone, triggering the egg's release. So ovulation may happen in the 28 to 36 hours. So the fourth, some may ask, that does it cause any symptoms? Well, ovulation may cause light bleeding or spotting breast tenderness, increased in sexual drive, ovary pain characterized by discomfort or pain on one side of the abdomen. But however, not everyone experiences symptoms with ovulation. So these signs are considered as secondary in tracking your fertility if it is healthy. So the fifth is, where does an ovulation fit into your overall menstrual cycle? Well, your menstrual cycle resets the days that your ovulations or menstrual rather flow begins. So this is the start of the follicular phase where the egg matures and is later released during ovulations around day 14. After ovulation comes the luteal phase. If pregnancy occurs during this phase, hormones will keep the lining from shedding with a menstrual period. Otherwise, a flow will start around day 28 of the cycle, beginning the next cycle. So, in short, ovulation generally occurs in the middle of the menstrual cycle. So, the sixth is, can you ovulate more than once in a given cycle? So, the answer is yes. Some people may ovulate more than once in a cycle because other people may release multiple eggs during one ovulation. It's either natural or a part of reproductive assistance. If both eggs are fertilized, this situation may result in fraternal multiples like having a twins baby. So the seventh is, ovulation the only time you can become pregnant? So the answer is no, because while the egg can only be fertilized in the 12 to 24 hours after it released sperm, can live in a reproductive tract under ideal condition after 5 days. So if you have sex in the days leading up to ovulations or on the day of ovulation itself, you may become pregnant. So the last is, what's the fertile window? Well, the 6 days trusted source leading up to and including ovulation make up what's so-called fertile window. Again, this is the period of a time when sexual intercourse may lead to pregnancy, because the sperm may wait around for several days in the fallopian tube after sex, ready to fertilize the egg once it's finally released. Once the egg is in the fallopian tube, it lives for around 24 hours before it can no longer be fertilized. Thus, the ending of the fertile windows. I will discuss about the outside part of the vagina. So, the vulva here. This is the vulva. Covers the entrance of the vagina. So it has a 5 parts. First is the mons pubis, the labia, and the urinary opening, vaginal opening, and the clitoris. So the mons pubis, it is the mound tissues and skin above your legs in the middle. So this area becomes covered with hair. Also, this is the hair. When you go through to the puberty. So the second is the labia. So labia are 2 sets of skin folds, often called lips, or either side of the opening of the vagina. So first is the labia majora. So it is here, the labia majora. Well, the labia minora, it is here. It is the inner lips. Labia minora. So the difference of the labia majora and the labia minora is, labia majora are the outer lips, and the labia minora are the inner lips in the vagina. So the third is the clitoris. So it is here. So clitoris is a small sensitive bump at the bottom of the mons pubis. Here, bottom. So this is the mons pubis and this is the clitoris. That covered by the labia minora. So na-cover yan labia minora. Kaya diba, o adi yan labia minora. So cover na gihapon ang clitoris. So the the fourth is the vaginal opening. So it is here. The vaginal opening is the entry to the vagina and is found below the urinary opening. So it is below the urinary, since the urinary opening it is here. So the last is the urinary opening. So the urinary opening is the below the clitoris. So clitoris is here. So the urinary opening is here at the koan ubos, so ganito below. So when your urine leaves the body, so naninagawas ang urine. In other hand, the male reproductive system is located in the pelvis region. It includes a pair of testes, along with accessory duct glands and external genitalia. It consists of a pair of testes lodged in an integumentary pouch, which is the scrotum. Initially, they are abdominal. However, as the development process or proceed, they descend down into the scrotum. So it has been proved that these adaptations enable circulations of an internal temperatures of the testes that higher than compared to the body temperatures, in which is essential for the normal functioning. In the adult, each testis oval in shape, with a length of about 40 to 5 cm and a width about 2 to 30 cm. The testis is covered by a dense covering. Each testis has about 250 compartments called testicular lobules. Each lobule contains 1 to 3 highly cold seminiferous tubules in which sperm are produced. Many such seminiferous tubules after exist again from a complex strata network of a tubular system known as the red testes. So the small duct coming from the red testes is again unite to form a large convoluted duct called as epididymis, in which sperms are stored. Epididymis continues into the vas deferens, which carries sperms away from the testes. The vas deferens, after curving back over the lower abdominal area, it enlarged to form the ampulla, in which opens a cold tube with sacculated walls. This is the seminal vesicle. Since it is supposed to perform nutritive functions by providing fructose and other nutrients to maintain vitality of sperm. With the union of a seminal vesicular duct and vas deferens. So, a short canal is formed. So, it is called ejaculatory duct, which further unites with the ureter to form a common passage to the urethra that is open to outside of the body through the penis of male. Through it, the seminiferous tubules is lined on its inside by the two types of cell called male germ cell and the Sertoli cell. Male germ cell is undergo meiotic division, finally leading to the sperm formation, where the Sertoli cells provide nutrition for the germ cells. So, the outside of the seminiferous tubules called interstitial spaces, containing small blood vessels and interstitial cells. Interstitial cells is synthesized and secrete testicular hormones called androgens. It is other immunological competent cells are also present. The two glands that present, which is the prostate and bulbourethral glands that opens into the urethra. So, the function is to produce mucus that lubricates the urethra to facilitate the ejaculation of sperm during copulation. So, in secretion in between these two glands, which is the prostate and bulbourethral gland, is that it constitutes the seminal plasma, which is rich in fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. So, the external genitalia organ in male is penis, through which urethral run. It is an erectile organ and helps in sperm disposition in the vagina during copulation.